All right, what's the refrain? Let me hear it. Let's go. What is it? You know it? Okay. All right, how many people are under 30? You be honest, do you know REM? Keep your hand up. Oh, an enlightened group. Excellent. All right. All right, let's keep our hands up though. Be honest, how many people know all the lyrics to that one classic REM song? Shackley, you can't answer. He's a music genius. Anybody? But we all know the chorus, don't we? All right. Well, when we look at American foreign policy, and my topic is dealing with creative disruption, American foreign policy since 9/11. Hello. It immediately made me think of the REM song. Why? How many people remember exactly where you were on that horrific Tuesday in 2001? Raise your hands. You remember exactly where you were. Okay. Most of us kind of have that memory, and certain scenes, certain whatever sounds, bam, you get the sense, yes. But how many people knew what was going on in Afghanistan or heard about Osama bin Laden? And be honest here, a couple weeks before 9/11. Just like we don't know the verse leading up to the chorus. And again, I would pose the same question. A few years out since that horrific day, how many of us are aware, engaged in what's really going on in American foreign policy today? A couple of hands, excellent. Now, I say that to you because it is the end of the world as we know it. How many times do you hear that this changes everything? Our way of life has changed, everything's changed. But let's be honest, folks. What's really changed? Longer lines at the airport, possibly, okay? But it might be the end of the world as we know it on that day, but years later, and guess what? And I feel fine. You feel fine. Time heals all wounds. We have memorials, rightfully so. We have the whole idea of what are the lessons learned, so on and so forth, and time does march on. I teach 11th graders, 12th graders international relations, and actually on that day, that Monday, before we were talking about Osama bin Laden. No, not because I'm Nostradamus. If I was, I'd be playing the lotto a long time ago. It was because he had been in the news for what he had done in Tanzania and Kenya in '98, and also the USS Keogh in 2000. And remember, they tried to destroy the World Trade Center in 1993. The guy was on the cover of Times magazine a couple times. So with that being said, what do we do now? Is the end of the world, we know it, but I feel fine. Okay, life does march on, okay? Well, maybe we need to look back and kind of look at creative disruption. Where have we been and where are we going? And how can we be a little bit more creative so possibly we can deal with such situations better in the future? Well, first thing I want to do as a historian, let's go back, shall we? In the Wayback Machine for you Professor Peabody fans. Can't believe they made that into a movie. Anyway, first of all, have we had a lot of creative disruption? Unfortunately, you betcha. 20th century, bloodiest ever. Good God, wow, what, 17 million killed of Great War, which again, 100th anniversary coming up this summer. Hard to believe, it's only 100 years ago. 100 years ago, 17 million people died in the war to end all wars. Sequel, 20 years later, all right, with 60 million people killed, and culminating with that wonderful device that can end life as we know it, the mushroom cloud. We've had a fairly bloody, and let's be honest, creative, yeah, creative in regards to lethality, how to kill each other. So there were a few people along the way who said maybe it would behoove us to be a little bit more creative in trying to find out solutions to this, so we'll stop doing this. And of course, been a couple different attempts. 1919, Mr. Wilson, President Wilson with his League of Nations, which a lot of people, of course, said you're too idealistic. You're blowing bubbles here. Woodrow, this idea of collective security, of America just being part of a larger international community and the rest, collective security, a little too early. Now again, a lot of issues with that. One can make the argument that the Treaty of Versailles itself was inherently flawed. Even if we had joined the League, which we never did, who knows? But we had a sequel. And in that context, we had Franklin Roosevelt come up with the current United Nations. With this time, however, a little bit more teeth with the idea of the Security Council. We can have the veto. Now, we could sit here all day, but only got 17 minutes, of debating whether or not the UN is efficient or not efficient. But it's there. And Sir Brian Urquhart once said it, I think, the best, a UN official. The role of the United Nations is not to deliver man to heaven, but to keep him from falling into hell. And sometimes, let's be honest, it's a lot better to talk than to shoot. But of course, what happened? That wonderful alliance we had with our good friend, Joe Stalin, hello. It broke down soon thereafter, and those of us who are the baby boom generation, yeah, sorry kids, no Social Security for you, okay? That's the way it works. We had this situation. Don't you miss the days of the old Cold War? You got to miss Stalin's fetching flat top there, okay, the red octopus. The Cold War, my students have a hard time believing, wait a minute, you guys really thought the Soviet Union, the Chinese, the Cubans, I'm like, oh, hey, man, don't stop there. Red Dawn, Nicaragua, the Sandinistas, okay? Gonna parachute in, gonna take over, oh my goodness, yeah. You really believe? Well, some policymakers more than others, yeah. So in that context, let's be honest, we were all over the place, but we had a very simple mantra: stop the spread of communism. Come on, some of you grew up the same time I did. Kill a commie for mommy, better dead than red. You know, really uplifting slogans there. And many of us never thought this thing would end without went out with a whimper, not a bang, thank goodness, although we did come close in October '62, Cuban Missile Crisis. With that, though, it ended. And we're like, wow, that's wonderful. Okay, I remember a number of different people, famous historians, writing, this is the end of history as we know it. And of course, what happened? Not so fast. We had the next round. And of course, we had a little short interim with Poppy Bush. Then we had the next president, Bill Clinton. Hey there, how you doing? I feel your pain. Now, those of you who might have seen Forrest Gump, I just love this cartoon when it came out. Mama always said, my foreign policy is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, in fairness to Bill Clinton, Richard Haas had a great piece in Foreign Affairs called Paradigm Loss, playing on Milton. Because let's be honest, for a lot of us, it was easy. What's our policy? Stop the Reds. And now what is it? We'll get back to you, okay? So it's more like jazz. The Irish, Bill Clinton, they revere him today. Good Friday Peace Agreement, he was instrumental with that. He and Tony Blair. Yes, after a slow start, we'll do something about the Bosnian genocide. Rwanda genocide, we'll get back to you on that. Kosovo, we'll go there. So it was kind of hit and miss, and a lot of people, critics were like, well, where's the consistency? Where is it? Well, we lost the old paradigm. And of course, we had the situation that changed with 9/11. And after 9/11, it was terror. Have you seen my dog? It's a terror, okay? It reminded a lot of us of the old Cold War days when it was just, hey, is it a communist? Yes, stop it. What are you fighting? Terror? Okay. Well, it was understandable on the heels of that. And let's not fool ourselves. After 9/11, it was just great fear, understandably so. With the war on terror, a lot of people had problems. I personally remember going, how do you declare war on a tactic? Problematic. And it led us into an array of different places and rationales that we're still kind of wrangling with today. But at the heart of this is one thing. American foreign policy, both in the past and now, we have a struggle. I would call it, lack of a better term, the clash of the two schools. Look, my students, I love them. Many of them are here, former and current. Don't sandbag me. Monday morning, 7:15, I'm sure you're not happy to be there going, hello, life is great, let's learn. No, you're there because you have to be. Now, Friday afternoon, you're like, oh, this is great. We all do things in life, as do nation states. Sometimes you have to do things. Sometimes you have to be pragmatic. Sometimes you have to approach things in a certain way and go, yeah, it may not be pretty, but you got to do it. That, of course, would be the realist school. There are some things you have to do as a nation state. Realists say don't. There's no such thing as right or wrong, good or evil in international relations. It's called national interest. Let's just put it out there. It's about power politics. All countries want power. Everybody's going to try to wield power. The question is, how do you balance it? With that being said, the idealists say, no, no, no. We're not, again, the law of the jungle any longer. There are international morality, international norms that everyone should adhere to. What happens in Vegas not only stays in Vegas, it affects all of us. This idea, well, I'm sorry, if a country does something within its own borders, that's its business. We don't want to violate this whole idea of sovereignty. Idealists say, sorry, that's a cop-out. We did that before in the 1930s and 40s, and it was awful. And we said, never again. You're always going to have this debate. Does America stand for something more than just raw national power, economic interests, and the rest? Let me give you an example. Let's look what's happening currently in Egypt. This is my homage to the classic movie Animal House. Those of you who have not seen it, educate yourself. Okay? America, and the President Obama's most recent president, has always faced this situation. There's a better nature of our angels saying, let's support the people of Egypt. They want a democracy. They've been under some pretty repressive regimes. First Mubarak, and they voted Arab Spring. Yay, Morsi won. Then they're like, yeah, but he ain't in our interest. Hey, we don't know who this Morsi guy is. And so last summer, when the Egyptian military ousted him, you heard very little from the Obama administration. Why? Case in point. And in fairness to President Obama, he's one of many presidents face that dilemma. So what do we do with this? Well, first of all, I would make the argument we've got to jettison some ghosts. Forget the ghosts of Christmas past. Let's jettison some of the ghosts of American foreign policy past. All right, first of all, there was one Adolf Hitler, and he's dead. Okay? I don't know if you've heard that rumor. He's dead. Yet every few years, Hitler, knock, knock, who's there? Hitler. Okay? Poppy Bush, Hitler revisited in Kuwait. I heard Bill Clinton say, I'll tell you what, Hitler, just like in Kosovo, Slobodan Milosevic, he is Hitler. Whoa. Obama, again, the whole thing with Assad is Hitler, dictators, and of course, George W., evildoers. Okay. Look, I understand. In history, we have analogies. But analogy is just that, a bloody analogy. Okay? Hitler is dead, thank God, especially with that bad mustache, although he did ruin that look for a lot of people. He's dead. Okay? But you see him constantly being brought up, and you see it here at this whole criticism of President Obama, appeaser, 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 with the most current Hitler person, Pooty Poot, as President Bush referred to him, Vladimir Putin. We've already heard that. It's just like Munich. Obama is appeasing Putin. This is going to lead to, it's Hitler. Okay. Stop it. Okay? Stop it. And then you have the other argument. We better not get involved. This will be another Vietnam. We've seen it before. Okay, ready? Vietnam was Vietnam. All right? You might say, then, wait a minute, then why do we study history? Believe me, on Monday mornings, I often ask myself that same question, okay? We do it for one thing. Yes, there are invaluable lessons we learn from the past, but contrary to Barney Fife does history. Well, Ange, history repeats itself. No, it doesn't. Okay? No, it bloody doesn't. Are there similarities? Definitely. Are there comparisons one can draw some really worthwhile information from? Yes. But they're different. Now that leads us to the next thing. Well, what do you do? Well, first of all, let's look what's going on now. The whole thing with Crimea and Ukraine. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You keep hearing that. If we don't stop Putin now, it's next thing you know, he's going to be into Poland and da-da-da. Okay. Well, maybe we need to look at it from different perspectives. And let's be honest, that's hard to do in this country because you have narratives that are created. And if you question those narratives, people will call you an appeaser or a warmonger, whatever it might be. And so very often, what happens, the analysis ends. If you look at what's going on currently with the Crimea in Ukraine, not unusual, is it? NATO keeps expanding closer to Russia, has been since the 90s. It's a military alliance. We're like, what's the matter with them? Get over it. They should know better. Well, how would we feel if they crept closer? Maybe we should look at it from a Russian perspective. Maybe we should look at it at different points of view. One of the things that I stress, and again, the material I work with my friends out at Brown University at the Watson Institute Choices program, get kids to wrangle with issues. We talked about textbooks in here. My Lord, kids are pretty bright people. If you give them the tools, let them wrangle with issues. There are options on the table. Let them work with it. In the end, I always have many, many class deliberations and debates. In the end, it culminates with them, you make your option. It's your life. And you know what? These kids are wicked smart. Wicked smart. They come with some pretty innovative ideas, talking about creative disruption, you betcha. Here's a couple of them. Amazing people. You get kids together that are informed, engaged, and aware, get out of the way. Get out of the bloody way. I think very often, though, and I've heard a number of people talk about education here, sometimes we think, well, we know what's best. Well, sometimes, guess what? We all can learn a thing or two, because creative disruption doesn't start with us, the teachers. It starts with our ends and stops with our students. Thank you very much. Take care.